Hey everyone, welcome. It's Carrie from Carrie's Wreath Creations. Hope you're all doing well on this Wednesday. It is October 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern, just a little after. If you are not watching on Wednesday, October 26th, 2022, just after 7 Eastern, you're watching a replay. I am just looking to pull this up here. There we go. Facebook has done an update on me and changed everything around, so I just had a brief delay in trying to find what I needed here. Gave me a new page experience. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I feel like I like the old page experience better. But anyways, thanks for joining me. If you're here, say hi in the comments and let me know you're here and where you're watching from. Today we're going to be working on a Christmas flower. We're going to do sort of a rustic style with some sort of, I guess you would call them sort of muted colors. And so we'll go through the process. We're going to be using the Dean Michael Daisy petal, and we're going to be using 3 different kinds of poly burlap. So I did go ahead and get this already started, which I'll show you in a minute, but wanted to go over the supplies. So in case you're new to watching me, and just so if you want to watch this later on and make this yourself, and maybe it's your first time, I do want to go through the process and everything that you would need to know if you want to try this on your own. Hello. Let me know if you're here, where you're watching from. Please feel free to say hi in the comments. Okay, so what we're going to be using is 3 colors of poly burlap. I did cut all mine with a wood burning tool into 10 by 10 squares. So we're going to be using olive green. Okay, I actually did the olive green petals already, so this is extra I'm not going to need. And then you're going to be using red, so I still need to make a few red petals. Red 10 by 10 cut with a wood burning tool. And then we're going to be using this 3-colored, it's stripes, and it's called, I'll show you the label here. It says honey brown, red, and olive green. And I don't know if this is still something, I think it's still available. I bought this, it might have been this year. The thing is, the honey brown, I don't think they actually sell honey brown poly burlap. They sell red, they sell olive green, but I have lots of shades of brown, and I don't have anything that's called honey brown and nothing that matches the brown that's in here, which is kind of weird, but we're going to use this too. So you also need your small Unique in the Creek board. And let me pull this out here. So I already have some of this done. Okay, if you're new to Unique in the Creek, feel free to check out the pinned post on my Facebook page. It'll give you a link to Unique in the Creek where you can buy the boards. So this is a small board. I'm going to flip it over actually so you can see the back. So here's the top. It says Unique in the Creek. On the actual board itself, you have your rows labeled. Outside row is row 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm only working on rows 2, 3, and 4 today. Okay, you can certainly do this flower using row 1 if you wanted to. I'm just saving materials and a little bit of space by not using row 1. You still get a really good size flower not using row 1. It's about 23 inches when you're done. So using row 1 will be bigger. But for lots of reasons, I do not usually use row 1. Most of the reason is I save a little bit on materials, and also it's better for the size shipping boxes that I use, and also saves the customer money on shipping. So row 2, I did use all of the pairs of holes, and these are just with 6-inch zip ties. Okay, so I have 8 zip ties on row 2, which I've already filled with the olive green petals. Okay, row 3 is right here. I got glue strings on this here. I have some of the red done already. We have a couple more to do. And then on row 4, I did use all the pairs of holes and then the shared holes as well. So the shared holes are between the pairs of holes. So you have the pairs that are close together, and then the shared ones would be between the 2 sets of holes. So that's a total of 8 on row 2, 8 on row 3, 8 on row 4, 24 petals. Okay. So the way I chose to lay this out, and I did this for a reason, I did the olive green on the outside. Mainly just because if you kind of wanted them to, the olive green to more or less resemble leaves instead of a petal on a flower, if you want it to be the leaves of the flower, the olive green works for the outside. And then I'm going to do the red, and then I'm going to put this on the inside. And the reason I chose to put this on the inside row is because that way I don't have any other colors or petals overlapping on here, and it'll really make this stand out. So usually when you buy this poly burlap that has the multicolors, anything other than the solid colors, it tends to be a little bit more expensive. So because I'm only going to be using 8 pieces of this, you can usually get anywhere between 32 to 35 pieces per roll if you're cutting the 10 by 10 squares. I can actually remake this wreath a couple of times by just using the 8 pieces, and I really get kind of the most effect of using it by putting it in the middle, because it stands out the most by being in the middle. Okay, so that's why I chose to lay it out like that. And so this is actually the second time I'm making this wreath, and I still have all this left. So I'll be able to make at least one more, probably 2 more actually. And I have plenty of red and olive green. So, and then for our center, this is half of a styrofoam ball. So it starts off looking like this. I buy the full balls, and then I cut them in half with a styrofoam cutter. And I just used some jute rope that I found at Dollar Tree and glued that on. Okay, I do have tutorials on my YouTube page that show you how to make centers like this, but it's pretty simple. You just start right here at the center and start winding and gluing. And on the back here, I have a floral pin with a pipe cleaner to attach. Okay, now when I make my petals, I'm going to be doing the Dean Michael Daisy petal, and I do prefer to use a clip in order to do that. So I'm taking my 10 by 10 piece, okay, and I have it curl side up. Okay, and then what I'm doing is I'm folding it into a triangle. Okay, and that's where I use my clip. So I like my petals to be nice and neat. Okay, and we want that tip to stay together. So this is 2 layers right here. Okay, so it helps to keep your petal nice and clean looking if you keep the point together. Okay, so then I'm just going to kind of turn it to its side right like this. Okay, and then there's many ways to fold this petal. What I prefer to do is I start at one end, I just kind of turn that under a little bit, and I start scrunching. So I'm just trying to gather about the same amount of material every time I move my fingers along the bottom here. Okay, and when I get to the other end, can't really see what I'm doing there. Right here, this little end here is just going to get tucked under just like we did at the beginning. Okay, you can take the clip off. As you can see, it's 2 layers, but they stayed together pretty well with that clip. And just give it a little shape. You can do more reshaping once it's on the board. And then it's going to go right into my zip tie. And I'm on row 3 right now. Okay, I already did row 2. That's the olive green. Row 3 is this red. I have 2 red to do, and then I have to do the middle petals. Okay, so just make sure you like the way that looks. And then we're going to move on. Hope everyone is doing well. It's been a little while since I've been live. Just needed a bit of a break. Had some other things going on. So glad to see people have rejoined me. Have some projects planned for Christmas here. I just made a Christmas tree on a triangle board from Unique in the Creek earlier today. Definitely want to do one of those live. I have a family member who's going to be doing a party making Christmas trees, and so I need to record some instructions for her, so I'll probably do that on a live and then put it on YouTube after. Okay, now the only thing you might want to do, since these petals are getting a little close together, I do like to make sure that they're all overlapping the same way around. There's only a tiny bit of overlap, but I do want this finished edge here to be the one that's on top if there is any overlap, which is just a little bit on this row. There'll be a lot more overlap on the inside. Now I'm going to take my zip tie gun here. Now what this does is, I forgot I only had to cut 2, but I'm going to cut more than in a minute here. If you aren't familiar with this, what this does is it has these little teeth here where it grabs the zip tie and you pull this little trigger type thing, and what it does is it tightens and then it cuts. So if you've already pulled it as tight as it can go, it'll just cut right away. But if it needs to tighten, it'll tighten first, so you'll actually pull this twice, once to tighten, once to cut. Okay, so I don't need any more red. Okay, so again, if you're just joining, we're doing the Dean Michael daisy petal. We're on the small board. We did row 2, all the pairs of holes have the olive green. We just finished row 3, all the pairs of holes have the red, and now we're gonna do the inside set of holes. Now, I will tell you with this, I'm gonna be careful that I always fold, or I'm holding my mesh the same way because it's brown, red, green, brown, red, green. So if I go like this, it looks different when I fold it, and I want them all to be the same. So I'm always gonna have this brown on the top when I start folding. You'll see what I mean in a second here. Okay, so I'm gonna take my 10 by 10, okay? And the way I fold my petals, I didn't mention this when I was folding to start with, but I do always have my, right here, these where my fingers are, that's where I've cut. And then this is the factory edge on the top and the bottom. So I do always make sure I keep that consistent so that my petals always look the same, okay? So it's curl side up, okay? And you kind of turn it into a diamond if you need to, but basically you're just bringing one corner up to meet the other corner, okay? Just like this. I'm gonna clip just to hold hold the top together, okay? And then what I'm gonna do, is again, fold this under and just scrunch along the bottom here, gathering about the same amount of material each time. This striped stuff is a little thicker than the plain colored stuff. I think because there's like a weave or a factory, I don't know what you want to call it, but in between the rows too, so it makes it a little thicker. Okay, so there's my petal. I always have to switch to my, put it in my left hand so I can tighten with my right. That's just, because I'm right-handed, that's the way I do it. Okay, so just start anywhere on row 4 here, and I realize I'm a little off camera, so I'll make sure I do that on camera next time. Okay, kind of shape that how you want it. Okay, so just to reiterate what I was saying before, so when the petal is done, this is green, red, brown, and then repeats. So if I were to turn this the other way, my petal would be, it would end up with brown, red, green, so it would be different than that one. And I don't want it to be, I want them all to be the same. So that's why I'm keeping my stripes in the same order when I'm folding. So, I mean, most of the time it doesn't matter which way you have your poly burlap. It's just with these, and you know, maybe if I was gonna do a whole flower with this mesh, I would actually turn it a different way to give the, give it like different rows, turn the material in different ways to give it a little bit of contrast between the rows. But since it's only one row of this, I'm doing them all the same. Okay, so here's my petal. I do a little shaping before I put it in the zip tie, and then I do a little bit more once it's in. So as you can see, row 4 here, since we are using the shared holes, gets a little bit more crowded. So you do have your petals overlapping here, but there isn't going to be anything laying on top of this mesh, so it's going to really stand out, which is why I chose to put it in the middle here. So I like to, if I have special, I guess you would call it special poly burlap that I, you know, it's like the multicolor or something like that. If I want it to stand out and kind of get the most bang for my buck, I usually put it in on the top row or the most inside row, okay? And again, that tends to be a little bit pricier, although I feel like the price of everything has been going up, even the solid colors. And sometimes the solid colors seem to vary in price based on the season. I think they decide what color they think everybody's going to need, and that's the one they make most expensive. So that's my petal, my Dean Michael petal. And put that in here. Now I'm putting my petals in clockwise, and the reason I'm doing that is because my factory edge is, hold on, let me just straighten these out here. This is my, realize I'm a little off camera, sorry. This is my factory edge right here, okay? And so since these petals have to overlap, I want that factory edge to be what's on top, okay? Over here on this side is the top layer here has the cut edge. So, you know, the cut edge, I did use a wood burning tool. I usually do okay with not having too much fray, but it's always possible. So if there's anything you can do to hide that cut edge as much as you can, that's why I put my petals in that way, okay? So again, you're 10 by 10, and I'm clipping the top to make sure I have a nice point after I'm done scrunching. So take your corner, fold it under, and then just gather your material down here. And then when you get to the other end, you kind of just turn that corner in as well. Okay, just a little bit hard to hold on to all this. Just a little bit thicker than the solid color. All right, if anyone has any questions, let me know in the comments. Again, it is Wednesday. I keep wanting to say Tuesday. It's Wednesday, October 26th. It's now about 20 after 7 Eastern. So if you're not watching then, you're watching a replay. So if you do have questions or make comments, I might not respond right away because you are not watching a live, you're watching a replay. However, anyone that is on live right now, if you have questions, you can get your answers right away. All right, so we've got a couple more to do here. So this is a nice simple little project. I've actually already sold a few of this style. And I think, I feel like for Christmas, I mean, obviously you can make a red poinsettia for Christmas. There's some other pretty plaids that you can use for flowers for Christmas. But other than that, you know, Christmas tends to be, there's a lot of red, you know. You can certainly use things like deco mesh or fabric mesh to get some different colors and things with sparkle in there for Christmas. I just really prefer the poly burlap, so I feel like I don't have quite as many options for Christmas flowers, besides things like plaid and then something like this. I have like a red and white plaid. I did start on row 2. Yes, the olive green is on row 2. I did not put anything on row 1. I'm just trying to keep this a condensed sort of flower. It's still just a little bit less than 23 inches. So it's still a pretty good size flower. And you can certainly use row 1 if you wanted to. This is going to be a total of 24 petals. So if you had a full roll of poly burlap, and yes, I'm cutting them 10 by 10, you could actually do this entire flower with less than 1 roll of poly burlap because it's only 24 pieces of 10 by 10. And a full roll will get you about usually 32 to 35 pieces. It should get you 36 in a perfect world, but sometimes there's flaws in the roll or you cut a little bit off or get weird factory cuts and things like that. Fray check. I don't know. I'm not into the whole spraying and sealing and all that. It's not my jam. A lot of people I know a lot of wreath makers are very insistent that you have to spray, I don't even know, Scotchgard and Mod Podge and all that other stuff. I don't spray my wreaths with anything. I'll be 100% honest. If someone requests some Scotchgard on there, I will make sure that I'm not, you know, if it's something with glitter or sparkle, that I'm not going to dull it by spraying it with Scotchgard, but I don't put anything extra. To me, I'm a bit too concerned, especially if it's something that's shipping, that if I spray a whole bunch of stuff on it and then I stick it in a box, that there's going to be lingering fumes and odor and stuff when they open the box. And some people are very sensitive to smells and things like that, so I don't spray anything on mine. Okay, one last petal. So this, I mean, it's definitely got a little bit of a Christmassy vibe with the red and green, but since it's not your traditional, like really, I mean, it's not super bright red. I mean, it's a decent shade of red. It's, you know, definitely red. But the olive green and the brown, I think, just gives it a little bit of like a rustic sort of vibe. And honestly, this is something that you could probably have out longer than just Christmas time, especially if these are colors that are in your home. Be a good winter wreath, just kind of even fall. I think it's got kind of that cozy sort of look. So now this last petal that I put in here, it is laying the wrong way because I need to tuck it behind the one next to it. So here's my factory edge right here. Here's the cut edge, and I want to hide that behind here. So I'm just going to carefully switch that around and like that. Okay. And you can, I mean, all my petals are going under like that, so I'm kind of just fluffing them out a little bit. You can do petals like cup up because they make kind of a cup shape when you fold them. Just a different look for your flower. It's not really one that I prefer, but that's an option. You do these like basically with the cup going up like a bowl. Just, it's good for other different kinds of flowers. I think it looks better. To me, it's more of like a springy kind of vibe for like spring flowers maybe. Okay. So the finishing touch then is to add our center. Okay, so again, this is just half of the styrofoam ball. And this jute rope is from Dollar Tree. And let's see. Here's the label. Well, part of the label. It's decorative nautical rope. It was 9.5 feet. I had this much left over. So about 1.5 feet left over. This styrofoam ball it is 4 inches. Now it's half of one. I did cut it in half. Okay. Oh, got some puppy dogs barking. Sorry, Stella. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just find opposite set of holes here in the back. It doesn't matter which ones. And feed the pipe cleaner through. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so it's going through right there. I'm just going to pull it tight then and give it some twists on the back. And, oh, okay. Must still be people outside. It's dark out, but clearly here's somebody out there. Okay. And then what I can do here, once this is nice and tight, I can either feed these back under the zip ties and twist them a few times. You could snip this off. You could put a piece of packing tape over it, anything that's going to keep this from, I don't want this to be like this at all. So what I usually do is feed them back under the pipe cleaners and just twist them. And you do need your hanger as well. I just use fish line. So cut a piece of that. And go through my hanging holes up here. So if you're new to Unique in the Creek, this is the top of the board, okay? And then there's a pair of holes here. And then there's these that are like slightly offset, a little bit larger holes. Those would be your hanging holes. I mean, you can use just the regular pair if you want, because we didn't use them for anything, but whatever works for you there. And feed these through. And then I'm just going to give this a knot. Well, I guess at least she left the room if she's going to continue barking. Okay. All right, so just like that. I'll clean this up later, but I want to just show you the finished product here. So there is our rustic Christmas flower. Good for fall. Good for sort of if you have like a rustic or primitive theme for your Christmas decorations. And again, not too in your face Christmassy, so this would definitely be something you could keep up after Christmas as well. Okay. This is posted in my Etsy shop. I can't remember what I have the price set at. It's likely right around $65. Okay, thank you for watching today, everybody. Be sure to check out the pinned post on my Facebook page that will give you information about the Unique in the Creek boards. I do have an affiliate link there, as well as a link to my Amazon shop where you can find things like the zip tie gun and some other tools. And again, I have my Etsy shop where you can purchase completed wreaths. I have a YouTube channel with tutorials, and I also have a very active Pinterest, what do you want to call it? Account? I don't know. It's not a station, but I have a Pinterest that is very active as well. And then I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. So thanks for joining me today, everybody. Have a great evening and take care. Bye.